Good morning, everybody. We'll just give it a minute or two, see if there's anybody else who's going to come and join us. While we're waiting, we'll do a couple of introductions. So my name is Bryn Hawkins. I am head of cyber here at Simoda. Javvad, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Hi, thanks, Bryn. And I'm Javvad Malik. I'm the lead security awareness advocate at KnowBe4.
Excellent, thank you very much. We've kept everybody on mute today so that we're not getting everybody kind of jumping in and asking questions. I'll ask you to, if you do have any questions at any point, if you can hop on to the Q&A or in the chat. We'll keep it to the Q&A if you can, and we'll try and answer those questions as we go along or at the end. We're going to do a little bit of a talking heads piece on here, so it's going to be a little bit free form, but you'll kind of find that out as we go along. Okay, I think that's all the housekeeping done. I think we've got about everybody on that is on the attendee list. Javvad, do you want to open up your screen and we'll crack on?
Sure, yeah. So thanks everyone for joining. We're talking about phishing in 2025. And I think sometimes the question is like, why are we still talking about this? This is surely, if you've been working in the industry for any period of time, you probably like come across this and you thought, well, it's probably not a problem anymore. So I think when we look at the landscape as a whole, and we look at sort of like people who work within our organizations, they're faced by a whole bunch of external threats. These phishing emails that are coming in almost on a daily basis. On top of that, everyone feels a ton of internal pressures. We need to get stuff done quickly. We need to get them done to the right quality. We need to, everything needs to be done by yesterday. And when these two things come together, it inevitably creates a form of human error. People overlook things. So, this is what the criminals rely on. They rely on people being under pressure so they can pinpoint them with these external threats and get them to do what they want, which is not in the interest of the organization. And this is like re-emphasized with whichever report you pick up. Verizon is probably one of the data breach report is probably one of the most respected and most thorough in our industry. And year on year, it's like anywhere between 60 to 90% of all breaches, they involve a human element. And of those, the majority of them still come in through phishing emails, which is why it is such an important topic.
When we're discussing breaches with this, Javvad, are we talking kind of ransomware attacks, or is this also included things like funds redirection, where we're essentially fraud and removing people out? Does that cover all of that area?
Yeah, it covers all of this area, and this is why, like a phishing email, it's not all of them are created equal. Some of them are just like footholds into your organization just to verify does this person exist or not, and then use it for a later campaign. Other times it is, yeah, very much so, like to get ransomware into your organization, or to do even low level things like, oh, pay this bill to this new bank account, and hoping the person will just do it without any other further checks.
Checking properly. I do wonder what this figure is going to be like in 2025, because obviously with the increasing capability of AI and availability outside of the kind of main offerings, I'd expect that this to be a higher figure as we move on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, ultimately, everything, like when we look at the traditional security defenses, like our firewalls, our network monitoring, segmentation, isolation, endpoint detection response, all of these capabilities over the last 20, 25 years, they've really gotten better. So the days of where you could just simply deface a website, or a SQL injection was a very trivial thing to find, are quite behind us. So now the real only attack path for the majority of cases is to attack the human, and that's why, and phishing is your front door into the organization. Beyond that, you're looking at things like unpatched software or vulnerabilities or 0 days or things like that. And then everything else is a long tail after that. So that's why we're going to, unfortunately see this as a big trend.
In fairness, Javvad, on that, there's been quite a few of the recent attacks that, although they've used vulnerabilities, although it's been 0 day, it still started with a human being. It still started with somebody giving away login details or opening an email. So yes, those are really important attack vectors to cover, but several of the big cases of recent have kind of started off with the meat bag that's done something incorrectly, So okay, cool.
Yeah, and that could be anything. I mean, like email phishing is like very economical for attackers, and they can do it from anywhere in the world. But we see a lot of like text messages being used now because they bypass a lot of your corporate filters, or even phone calls. So this is where we as in KnowBe4, we play in the area of human risk management, and what that means is you take a human-centric view to cybersecurity, where you put your human in the center and you build controls around them to protect them as best as possible from everything. And it's a very simple, like layered model. You put in place some controls as best as you can to stop attacks from reaching your people. So email filters, gateway controls, AI, context-aware threat intel, everything there to stop attacks. So you reduce the number of actual phishing emails that reach people. The second part is you educate them to say, like, well, these attacks are going to hit your inboxes. Here's what they look like. Here's what you should do. And part of that is simulated phishing exercises, which are probably some of the easiest as most effective way to train people. So rather than saying, watch this 30-minute module, you just send them a phishing email that is benign for all intents and purposes, and see how they react to it. And that's a very, very good educational moment. The next part after that is you need to empower people. Say, like, okay, you've educated them, but now what do you want them to do? And do you give them the right tools to do it? So it's all fair and good to say, if you see a suspicious email, report it. But what does that reporting process look like? Do they have to go into and log a ticket with help desk and take a screenshot? Or people aren't going to do that. They want something that's simple, that's low friction, and they can just hit a button and it's taken care of, and then it's reported back to them whether it was something that was malicious or not. And the final piece of the human risk management puzzle is that ultimately people will make mistakes no matter what we do in the other layers. This is like classic risk management 101. You can't stop everything. And then you have protection mechanisms in place just to protect them from that. So if someone hits reply all or adds the wrong person into an email list or something, maybe you have some control. Say, hey, like, are you sure you want to send it to this person? Let's automatically encrypt the email. Let's like prevent like that data loss from the organization. All those sorts of things. So this is like kind of like the human risk management in a nutshell. But when you look at phishing emails, we can't defend everything all the time. There's going to be a percentage that's going to get through, and that's why the education and empowerment piece, that focusing on that human, is so important.
Well, that's your last line of defense, isn't it? And especially, as you said, with increasing attacks coming through, more obscure messaging. It's not just emails these days. Things come through from your Teams messaging. You can get text messages. That there's all sorts of ways of phishing and all the various fancy names that go with it. A lot of this stuff's outside of the protection of that defend layer. If you're not on a corporate device that's got endpoint protection on, it's you're kind of on your own for that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the question is like, well, how do we go about this? And the methodology is very simple. And Bryn, you know about this. You've seen this many times. It's a simple but very, very effective process. It's what you do for absolutely anything and everything when it relates to human behaviors. It's like you start anywhere. You train the people, and like, okay, this is what you need to do. So that's your education and your simulated phishing. You fish them, and then you analyze the results, and then you repeat this process. And the beauty is in the simplicity, because the more you go around this cycle, the more people become aware, the more they get attuned to it, the more you can try different behaviors, and it actually works very, very effectively. I'm sure, Bryn, you can talk to some of your examples.
Yeah, absolutely. So we run this as a managed service internally, and we actually run KnowBe4 internally as our training platform. So the way that we deploy this, we run a weekly phishing test, and that comes from a whole bunch of categories. We've actually got to the point now where everything's set as hard as it possibly can. We've input our own custom data into there, so it's quite customized. So we get emails that are pretending to be somebody's manager asking for a report from our departments. We've really got to a stage where, after what we've been now probably 3 or 4 years running this solution, we're in a position where kind of our guys are really, really tuned into what a good phishing attack looks like, and the templates that come through are absolutely superb. We deploy quite a lot of the stuff that you get from your PhishER platform. So for those that don't know, PhishER is a platform where the analysis of real world phishing emails goes into and then can be redeployed, so sanitized and redeployed back into the system. So quite a lot of the stuff that we're training on is actual real world attacks rather than something that somebody's kind of generated. So that regular training that regular testing has given a real kind of high state of vigilance. So the nice thing is that's building that security culture that you spoke about before. I often get called to one of my colleagues' desks to have a look over their shoulder and help them understand and analyze whether we think together that it's a phishing email. Now, I've worked in plenty of organizations where that never ever happened. Either people would ignore it or wouldn't report it, or would click on it and then, I've got to hide this. So it's helped us bring this conversation to the fore and have it open up within the office. And then as far as the training goes, we actually had to increase the frequency of training. So we do a program, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Javvad, of Inside Man internally. And I was getting a lot of complaints that we weren't watching enough of them because it's kind of so engaging. And then, as you said, we analyze the results that we get of these, and it enables us then to fine tune and to kind of really proceed and we make the tests harder, we make the training more appropriate. So if there's any areas that we struggle with, there's a really nice dashboard that we can see kind of areas that we perhaps haven't done enough training in a particular category, so we can tune into that. So we've got this down to a fine art internally and for our customers of actually not just we're training for training's sake, but we're getting some real purpose out of it. Which is great. It's exactly what you want from a system, right? We don't just want to kind of tick a box. The whole point behind having a system like KnowBe4 is to actually make sure that we are more secure off the back of that. It's probably important to note at this time that if anybody that's on this call would like a demo and show it, we do that internally. We'll show you exactly how we use it, how Simoda's got it deployed internally, so you can see real world examples of kind of what's going on there. But yeah, back over to you, Javvad.
Yeah. And I think, just to reiterate the point you made about having that culture, it's so important. Like sometimes people say that their phishing simulations don't work, or they've annoyed their users, or they don't like receiving them. And I think that's nearly always comes down to a cultural issue where people feel like they're being caught out, or the security team's there to punish them somehow. So having that conversation first, saying this is why we're doing it, this is what we're doing, and we're in this together. So having that open door, that is really what changes the perception of people on these phishing tests.
Well, what we've done internally, we've turned it into a little bit of gamification. So we've enabled the kind of league tables within our learner piece. So what you can do for those of you at home, we can create user groups that are relevant to the teams, or that's what we've done internally, that's relevant to the teams of our organization. So there's a little bit of friendly competition between commercial and engineering and my team, the solutions team, to see who can be top of that league table, and that comes around by making sure that you've done your training and you've got that completed. So we've created that little bit of fun that goes with it, and I often get shouted across the office as like, you didn't get me this time, I've reported it. And you're getting a real benefit out of it, but we're not hitting people over the head with a stick all the time. It's that kind of, as you say, you're getting people almost excited about finding and spotting the test, and by the very nature they get really good at that, and then therefore get really good at spotting phishing emails and protecting the organization as a whole. So yeah, it is really important. It's really important to set the scene, but I think the system really does lend itself to there's a whole different way of different ways of using it that will fit within the culture of whatever business to kind of make it work for that organization. We're quite competitive here. We're in the IT tech sector. That's just the way it kind of boils down to. So that thing works for us, but maybe a bit of humor or something else works within other cultures. So it's got the flexibility to be able to do that.
That's right. So what? That's the question. Yeah. What does it end up looking like? So I'll just talk about the fish prone percentage first. So when you start off with a platform like KnowBe4, or when you do your first baseline test, a certain percentage of people will click on the link, and those are kind of like your susceptible people. How many people are susceptible to falling victim to it? And that's your fish prone percentage. How many people are prone to click on it? And we've got like a massive data set of those. We've got like over 60,000 organizations around the world. There's 14.5 million users that take place in there, and it's like nearly 70 million phishing security tests. So this is a very robust data set. It's around the world. It's from every organization, size and industry that you can imagine. So we encourage companies when they join, like, okay, do your baseline test and then remeasure frequently to see how your fish prone percentage is going. And what we find is that there's an average of 87% improvement in a year. So when you start it, so you can probably look to see which industry is your organization in. So say for example, you're in energy and utilities. That baseline, when you do that very first softball phishing test, about 41% of people will end up falling victim to it. They'll click on it, they'll go through however that's set up. But if you follow that fish train analyze model, after 90 days of training and analyzing, you can get that down from 41% to 14.7%, which is a huge reduction within 3 months. I don't think there are many other technologies or security practices out there that can deliver such a massive return within 3 months. And if sticking with the energy and utilities, if you carry on that path within a year, you can get it down to about 5.3% on average. So you can see that these are the figures. Like, the other is probably the most poorly performing, 7.2%, non-profit at 6%, insurance at 7%. But you look at hospitality, it starts at nearly a third of their employees click on it to under 3%. So it's a massive improvement that you can expect to see, and this is consistent regardless of the industry you're in, regardless of the size you're in. We're confident that if you follow the method, you will see the results.
Exactly that. When we see this we've obviously got a dashboard into our own customers, and yeah, it's broadly in line with this. There's obviously some variations. Anecdote is not plural of anecdote is not data, but there's a huge step of improvement in that first 90 days. We see it's massive, but it continues. And as I say, what we do with our managed services and what we recommend to our customers, actually we tighten that down and down. So although the fish prone percentage does carry on coming down, actually that test is harder all the time. We make it absolutely as hard as possible. So the value there is long term as well. As I say, I think we're into I can't remember, we're third or fourth year, and we're still finding ways of kind of turning that thumb screw a little bit and making a little bit more
Yeah.
challenging to be able to go through.
Yeah, and as it should be, because the attacker techniques continue to evolve. They're using more AI. They're using, so things like before we'd say look for bad spelling and bad grammar because that's an indication. Now that's no longer a factor because you use ChatGPT and it creates perfectly crafted emails. It can do a lot of the research for you. So you need to up that difficulty level every now and then. So you see like the trend, it comes down and then there's a little blip upwards as like the difficulty gets harder, and then it comes down again, and so it's not a continuous smooth one, but overall on the long scale, you will see it, and this is like just another visualization of the data. You can see that on average when you aggregate everyone together, it's 34.3% is the average, and then that 3-month training period brings it down to 18.9%. And at the end of the year, it goes down to 4.6. So there is like a very consistent drop in the number of people that fall victim to it. And what this doesn't show also is that sometimes people fall victim to it, but then they immediately report it, which is the actual desired behavior that you want as well. So we get it. Sometimes you're multitasking. Sometimes you wake up and you're just looking at a phone on your phone for an email and you might accidentally click something. That's okay. If you can report it quickly enough, then that can stop that turning into a full-blown incident as well. So, there's all these other behaviors that we're actually encouraging and looking for. That is really what the key is here.
Absolutely. Are we done on slides? We got anything more to go through?
I think we're done on slides. Yes.
Excellent. So I want to pick your brains a little bit and understand. So we're here to talk about phishing in 2025 and how it's been all affected. And we've covered a little bit around kind of how AI is affected and improve the phishing emails that we get. What's KnowBe4 doing in the AI space to be able to kind of combat the general improvement, and I guess the volume? I mean, I can't remember the figures, but I've seen that there's a huge increase in ransomware as a service, and as I say, a lot of that starts with phishing emails and the ability to be able to automate and do on scale. This isn't going to go away and it's not going to shrink. So what's KnowBe4 doing in the AI space to be able to combat that?
So AI is a really big part of what we're doing in engineering and developing our capabilities. It's a huge part. I think if you're not embracing AI, you're going to be left behind significantly. So there's a few places we're using it. We're using it in our Defend product to look at emails and analyze the language and the tone and everything that's coming in, just to say, hey, okay, this looks like it's trying to get you angry about something or trying to scare you into making this payment really quickly. So, you can add on custom banners onto the email and you can give some form of training there. We're also using AI to really personalize the training and the phishing simulations that go out to people. So there's a whole suite of AI capabilities under what we call ADA, artificial intelligence defense agents. And what they do is they'll say like, well, this person works in this area and they're more susceptible to fall victim to these sorts of things. So what the training can then do is send a custom phishing email to that person individually based on their behaviors and where they're more risky, because that's what they need to fix. There's no point if you're really good in password hygiene, for example, there's no point in testing you against it because you're already pretty good on. But if you're really poor at picking up USBs and sticking them into your machine, that's where we need to focus on. So what the AI allows us to do is build up a accurate risk profile of every individual, and then tailor the training and the phishing to those individuals. And then you can actually aggregate that together as well to say, like, okay, this department or the organization as a whole has these things. And you can allow people to go in and look at their profile and say, well, your risk rating is now 84% or 90%, or it's come down this quarter because you failed a certain test or you engaged in risky behavior. So there's there's a ton of capabilities we're using there to really make the admin's life so much easier, and really deliver things that move the needle. And then there's security coach that is built into the product as well, which is where it will give you a nudge or a just-in-time training moment as you do something risky. So if you click on a link and it's going to a website with a bad reputation, it will just say, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this?" This is something, and then you have the option to like flash up like a 30-second micro training bit of content saying there's risks of going to these sorts of website. Could it infect your machine and what have you? So it's a good reminder, which again is something that historically like training programs didn't have, because you just get your once a quarter training, whether it was relevant to you or not. But now you're getting the right training at the right time when you need it. And that is where AI is playing a huge role.
And in bite-sized pieces as well, right? So
Yeah.
we're not having to sit through 45 minutes of training and having forgot the training that we started off with. Is really focused in that particular moment and that particular topic and an area. I guess the other thing as well is that we do bleed a little bit into the physical world. You touched on the USB, but there's also, I believe, there's the callback, the voice phishing feature that's out within there as well. So no, it's as I say, it's an excellent product. We've been playing around with the Ada, creating some custom. So it's almost like a ChatGPT built in that specifically creates custom templates, because we've got one or two people that believe that they'll never be caught with anything. So I'm getting quite creative with giving them some special treatment, shall we say. They're eluding me so far, but I'll have them at some point. But yeah, it gives you all of that capability, and I think there's quite a lot that's on the future that we can't quite yet talk about, isn't there? That's
right. Yes,
going to be coming quite soon. So that's all quite exciting. So excellent. I don't think we've got any Q&A. Is there anything else that you have got that you want to talk about, Javvad, that's quite exciting, that's coming up, that's new to KnowBe4? Do we think we've covered everything?
We've covered everything that's public today, but there's
excellent.
A ton of development in the background, and it's going to really make people's lives easier, especially with the new AI capabilities. And it's really there to empower your people. It's putting it's we hate it when people blame their users for a mistake or something, and we're like, it's all about, no, you need to empower them. You need to create the right environment for them. People want to do the right thing, but we need to understand how we can support them best.
We've all fallen for it. I can honestly put my hand up and say, I fell for something last year. I got caught with a scam. It wasn't expensive. It cost me £40, but it was something that was in my personal life. And I have all of this training, all of these things, and somebody was clever enough to get hold of a PayPal link for me, and I had a momentary lapse. But it's important that we discuss that and we're open about it. And we've all got a hook. We've all got a phishing hook that we can have. All we can do is just try and make sure that people are as aware as possible and see. And that cultural thing, I think, is enormous. And as you say, it's not about blaming. It's about understanding what's happening, and doing something about it real quick. So yeah, I guess that's a great note to leave on. So could you just pop up the contact page again for everybody, so in case anybody's missed it, they can get the details on how, if they want to find out more, anybody who's attending or watching the recording, if you want to book a demo, the link's there. We've got Javad's contact details. We'll follow up with an email for everything. The system's superb. There's so much to it we can't really cover on a quick 30-minute call, which is why we decided to have this conversational piece. But yeah, if there's more interest, please do reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to show you a lot more, and in a couple of weeks, hopefully there'll be even more to discuss. Oh, one last thing before we go, Javvad. We've got coming up, isn't it, the Security Awareness Month? When's that happening?
October is Security Awareness Month. Yep.
and you've just sent us some things through. Didn't get a chance to read it before, but is there some interesting things to look out for there that you guys will be doing?
Yes, there's the entire Security Awareness Month kit that we've released. So that's got 4 weeks. There's a weekly theme. Every year we try to do it around something. This year it's arcade villains. So it's all based on a retro arcade theme, and there are villains. So there's like Dr. Encryptor, and there's the social engineers and all sorts. So there's like a calendar in there. There's content in there. There's posters in there. There's a whole bunch of free resources in there that you can just use for the whole month and plan out your activities.
Excellent, and obviously we'll share that with everybody who's joined and who receives this in the future. So thank you so much, Javvad. That's been really really useful, really helpful, and thank you everybody for attending. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.